Hi and welcome along to AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that have been linked with a summer transfer and move to Arsenal, or away in this case. Alexis Sanchez again in the news today. Yesterday I said that, Bayern Munich apparently had put in this whopping bid for offering Alexis Sanchez £350,000 a week, which sort of goes way against what they've previously said, where they said they're not going to pay that sort of wages, but that was being reported in the Mirror. The rumour being reported today is that he's now been linked with a move to Manchester City. It's been reported that a respected Chilean journalist, goes by the name of Fernando Celebritia, says that Manchester City not only have put in a bid, but have completed their move for Alexis Sanchez. Now, where this gentleman gets this information from, I really don't know. I mean, it totally contradicts what Arsene Wenger came out with this week and said, in that he said he would rather their contracts run right down. Now, he was on about Sanchez and Ozil. Alexis has not said anything about it whilst he's been away on duty. Man City have not said anything about it. And it just seems highly unlikely to me that he's going to end up at Manchester City. I think the manager of the club and the board know that the fans would be so upset if he ends up going to Manchester City. And what I've heard from Arsenal is that the one thing they're definitely not going to do is let Alexis go to another English club. If anything, they would rather run his contract down. Now, that said, he could make the contract run down and then decide to join, Manchester City, or join Man United or Chelsea or whoever it is. But I don't think that Arsenal will sell him to any other English club, because they just know at the moment it's a real fragile state between the fans and the club. And I think that would be the tipping point. So I just cannot see this rumour that's coming out from this journalist being true, but that's the latest rumour today. Alexis going to Man City. Now, Arsenal being linked with a Turkish player today, and I apologise in advance to all Turkish fans. I should have rung up Mems and got a proper pronunciation of this. Goes by the name of Hakan Çalhanoğlu. I hope I've got that right. He plays for Bayer Leverkusen. Apparently has a 32.5 million release clause. He's a playmaker, free kick specialist. And apparently there's two clubs said to be chasing him, and that is Arsenal and Lazio, both interested in signing him. I have to admit, I don't know. I think I've seen him play once, but I don't really know a lot about him. If you do know a lot about him, leave it in the comments section. But that's the latest player that Arsenal are getting linked to. Remember, at this time of year, we're going to get linked to everyone and his dog, because they know that Arsenal have got a lot of money to spend and are looking at players. So we're going to get linked to all of these players. Also being linked today with a championship player, which is very unusual for Arsenal. Helder Costa. He plays for Wolves. If you'd have watched the FA Cup last year, he played really well in some of the games in the FA Cup. He's only still 23. Wolves are valuing him at £20 million. He's a winger, Portuguese, very tricky, very quick. For me, I can't see this. Arsenal just got so many players in that sort of position that are really good players. To go to the Championship and bring in a player for £20 million, I'd say it is highly, highly unlikely. But listen, the links continue. Hector Bellerin. Now, more rumours today about Hector Bellerin. Dan Ballon, which is a Spanish publication, they claim that he is prepared to force a move away from Arsenal. Now, Hector Bellerin came out yesterday. He put a tweet out there saying, "Don't believe what you read," right? So that is how I'm going to end that rumour. I'm just not going to believe it, because if the man himself is saying, "Don't believe what you read," then, where have this Dan Ballon got? I mean, what it is sometimes with a lot of these Spanish publications is that they are quite close to the clubs, and the clubs will feed them little stories to try and, destabilise players and get players, get like a little momentum going on players. There's no doubt, I think, that Barcelona would love to sign Hector Bellerin, but Arsenal have got him under a long contract, and they don't have to do business. This is the sort of contract we should have had Alexis and Ozil tied to, then, you know, you could have as many rumours as you want. He wouldn't be going anywhere, you know. But when you don't have these players tied down to these long-term contracts, that is when the problems start, you know. Wojciech Szczesny, now this is another interesting one. Wojciech Szczesny, Arsenal player, of course, out on loan, went on loan to Roma, been brilliant. Last season, a lot of people say that he was the best goalkeeper in Serie A, in big contrast to Joe Hart, who went from Man City, of course, to Torino, and a lot of people were saying he was one of the worst goalkeepers in Serie A. Well, Wojciech Szczesny has been a big hit over there. Now, Roma would like to sign him permanently. So would Juventus. It's being said now that Juventus have agreed terms with Wojciech Szczesny on his wages. And it's just for Arsenal to agree a move. And he will join Juventus as an understudy to Buffon, with a view to taking over from Buffon once Buffon has left the club. Now, I don't get this. If he can be an understudy to Buffon, then surely then, and he's done so well, surely then, we should bring him back to the Emirates and he should be understudy to Petr Cech, especially if we're getting rid of Ospina. Which, by the way, I can't believe that £3 million for Ospina is like ridiculously cheap. But that's another matter. But if Ospina's going, and as I said, he's going to go and be an understudy at Juventus, then I don't get that. You know what I mean? I don't get that. That means for me, we should be bringing Wojciech Szczesny back. He loves Arsenal. He's been at Arsenal for a very long time. He's a sort of guy that will be good around the dressing room and stuff like that. Bring him back. If he's prepared to be an understudy, bring him back. Let him be understudy here. But it does look like he could be on his way to Italy. Christian Bielik, who's one Arsenal player, young player, 19 years of age, has done very well. He was out on loan last year with Birmingham from the transfer window. He did really well out there. He's been linked today with a move to Norwich. And as a matter of fact, he himself even said that, I think I'm going to end up on loan this season at Norwich. Very good prospect. Arsene Wenger really wants to give him much more experience, and a loan move to Norwich might be a good move for Bielik. So we'll see what happens with that. Listen, these loan moves can be good for players, especially in the Championship, and especially for a Championship club like Norwich. So that could be a good move for Bielik to eventually get him into the first team at Arsenal. Now, yesterday I did a poll, and in the poll I said, would you have Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who's been released by Manchester United, was released yesterday, or Diego Costa, who's been told by Chelsea to, you know, basically get lost by text. We don't want you no more. He's been dumped by Chelsea. Would you have any of those two players at Arsenal? You know, we could do an upgrade on a striker, but would you have any of those two? In the poll, 24%, I was surprised how low that was. 24% of you said you'd have Zlatan Ibrahimovic. 48% said you'd have Diego Costa. 28% of you said you don't want any of them. Right, so that was the poll yesterday. Wow. You know what? I personally, I would have either of those. I would have either of those players. For me, both of them top class players, and they're both good strikers. They both get goals. Why not? By the way, on that, did you see Olivier Giroud's goal yesterday? For France. What an amazing strike. He comes up with some amazing strikes. That was a brilliant strike by Giroud yesterday. They still lost the game. Why did they lose that game? Lloris in goal from Spurs. He spursed it up. Go and have a look at that mistake by Lloris right in the 93rd minute. But what a strike by Giroud. Anyway, let's get into the comments from yesterday. Arsenal Dude 21 says, if Alexis is leaving Bayern, let's get Douglas Costa for £30 million. And I'll tell you what, that's a great shout. That's a great shout. Douglas Costa plus £30 million. Although I don't want Alexis to leave, we've got to be keeping our best players. Apollyon says, if Higuain is worth 80 million and Mbappe is worth 100 million, there's no way I'd expect less than 70 million for Sanchez. But the problem is this, Apollyon. Yes, you're right, but he's only got a year left on his contract. That means he can walk away for nothing. In 6 months' time, he can sign a pre-agreement with another club. And that is why the value of him will only be about 30, 40 million. because clubs know that, you know, well, actually, well, let's just wait it out and we get him for free. So that is the problem with that. Otherwise, he'd be valued way more than that. This is why you don't make contracts run right down when you've got top class players. Starkiller86 says, no player is bigger than the club. And I agree that at the end of the day, you know, big players have moved on from Arsenal. It's about how you replace them. So if Alexis does go, it's about how we replace him. Horace04 says, Alexis should stay and ensure that he solidifies himself as an out-and-out legend at Arsenal. Too many ex-Arsenal players have left the club and their careers have since gone on to decline. Sanchez won't play his best football when he is in a team full of superstars. Arsenal is perfect for him. He is our Messi or Ronaldo, and with a couple of top-class additions, he will not only perform even better, but will also hopefully win trophies. Come on, Alexis, I have faith in you. He's spot on there. If you go to Bayern Munich, you're playing with Lewandowski, you're playing with Robin, you're playing with Müller, you're playing with all kind of top-class players. On the one aspect, that's brilliant, because you can be assured if he goes to Bayern, he's going to probably win the league. He's going to be doing really well in the Champions League, going to be amongst some of the best players in the world. But also, as he says there, Horace, you're not the main man. You're part of a great team, but you're not the main man. At Arsenal, you're the main man. So but can Arsenal, like he said, it's about Arsenal matching Alexis' ambition. Can we do that? That's the real test. Emperor Omar says, loving the videos, Robbie. I have a hunch that Sanchez is going to leave for Bayern. I think that Arsenal should try and get Royce or Aubameyang, which is very hard, and in return, sell Ozil, Wilshere and Walcott, all dead weight in his opinion. Now, on the Aubameyang thing, I don't, you know, it's gone really quiet on Aubameyang. First of all, PSG were reportedly close to a deal for Aubameyang. For me, we should be going all out for a player like Aubameyang. To me, if Alexis did leave, Aubameyang is the sort of player that if you bought in, a lot of fans would say, well, actually, Alexis is a great player, but Aubameyang is a good replacement. Now, for me, why are we not going all out? We should be going all out for a player like Aubameyang anyway to add with Alexis. But I don't know, it seems very quiet on Aubameyang. And finally, Nate Daniels 42 says, I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I think the best signing you could make is for Lukaku. By the way, Lukaku missed absolute city yesterday. I'm not sure about Lukaku. I mean, he's probably going to end up at Chelsea anyway. He is a great striker, but he kind of, in a funny way, reminds me of Giroud in that he's not clinical. And that sounds ridiculous to say because he scored, was it 24 goals last season? He was the main man at Everton. He always scores goals, but I just feel, I don't know if I could be wrong here. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. I just feel sometimes that he's not as clinical as he should be. He's still a bit raw. He still doesn't hold the ball up well enough for me. And he has been sort of accused sometimes as not being as good as he is against the smaller teams in those big games. But listen, maybe I'm being a bit too harsh and a bit too critical here. Listen, thanks for watching the show today. We'll be back tomorrow. Keep those comments coming in. Keep subscribing here to ArsenalFanTV. It's been AFTV Transfer Daily.
Subscribe to ArsenalFanTV.